Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our ongoing video series on how to protect yourself during our state of emergency. My name's Katie England. I'm the social media coordinator for the Maine State Police. We are here with Lieutenant Pat Hood of the Maine State Police, Jane Margesson of AARP Maine, and Judy Shaw of the Office of Securities. This week, we're here to talk to you about identity theft, and I'm going to send it right over to Pat Hood.
Good afternoon, everybody. We wanted to come together and talk about identity theft for many different reasons. We've got all kinds of unemployment scams and frauds occurring across the state. There are data breaches in different areas nationally. But I wanted to share a story that happened to me, which really drove it home. But I was applying for refinancing for a mortgage. And as part of that step, that process, they check your credit file. And I had a conversation with a gentleman about that was asking about a $1,300 charge to a cell phone company that I don't have an association with. And I thought at first he was just giving me a hard time, but as things went on, I couldn't believe it. So he actually produced a document, which was my credit file, sent it to me, and sure enough, somebody in their spare time took out a $1,300 account using my personal information that spanned across a period of 20 years. So they did their homework. I don't know where this started from, but at that point I realized that, holy cow, I need to share this story with other people. So what I had to do was figure out how to get it off of there, because I wanted to do something that directly affected my credit. So I had to figure out what steps to take, and I'll share those with you now. But I went to ftc.gov. I think we're going to attach that here to our session. But basically, it provides a way for me to go and get a free credit report different times during the year. But what I will say is, once I began that path and how to correct this, it was pretty easy to manage. I will say that when you go and you reach your free credit file from one of the three providers, they ask you a bunch of questions for security reasons, but you know all the answers, because what they're doing is pulling the information from your credit file and asking you a series of questions. So it worked out very well. I was pleased with the process. And again, I think it's worthwhile to share with all of you, especially during this time. So I'll hand it to Judy, who's going to give you some information on how to access those sites.
It's really unfortunate that happened to you, Pat, but you certainly took all the right avenues to try to get it corrected. The Federal Trade Commission is an excellent resource, a great place to start. And in the state of Maine, here in my Department of Professional Financial Regulation, we have a great resource as well, the Bureau of Consumer Credit Protection. If you haven't visited their website, I strongly recommend it. On that website, you're going to find some awesome resources, including information on obtaining your free credit report. Don't forget, the website you go to is annualcreditreport.com. There's no free in the name, so make sure you avoid those sites, because they're going to try to sell you something. And don't forget to check the credit reports for your children. Surprisingly, the number one fastest growing form of identity theft in the United States is with children. And if you don't double check your credit reports, you may not realize that your child's identity has been stolen until maybe they're getting ready to go to college and they're applying for student loans. Probably the single most important way to protect your credit is to arrange for a file freeze of your credit information. And there's information on how to go about freezing your credit information as well as unfreezing your credit information on the Bureau of Consumer Credit Protection website. And freezing and unfreezing is free of charge. And to talk more about that, I want to turn it over to Jane Margesson.
Thank you, Judy. And I want to mention too that the Maine Bureau of Consumer Credit Protection are experts at this. Please do feel free to pick up the phone also and call them. Their number is 1-800-332-8529. That's 800-332-8529. But there is no better way for you to protect yourself from identity theft than placing a freeze on your credit report. It's sometimes called a credit file. They're the same thing. Placing a freeze on your credit report effectively will leave the scammers out in the cold. They will not be able to access your credit report to take out credit in your name, or apply for government benefits in your name, or do all the damage that can occur when your identity is stolen. With the freeze in place, and you do need to place a freeze with all 3 credit bureaus, not just one of them, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, you must do it with all 3. That really will protect you, even if your identity is stolen, even if your social security number has been compromised, it will greatly reduce the damage from the theft. So the reason this works so well, and by the way, this does not affect your credit score, it will not affect your ability to use your credit card. It's simply placing complete cement wall around all of your personal financial information that is housed in your credit report. The creditors will use to check on your credit. So if you're buying a new car, buying a new house, or applying for certain kinds of benefits, they will need to legitimately check your credit report. So when that happens, you can easily unfreeze your credit freeze. You can just unfreeze it temporarily, let that company do what they need to do so you can get your car or your house or whatever you're applying for, and then just simply place the freeze right back on again. And it won't cost you a dime. As Judy said, please take this preventive measure for yourself, but also for your family members. We've had cases of infants as young as 2 months old having their credit, their identity stolen. So let's not let that happen another time. Place the freeze, do it today. It's so easy. And you can go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork for a lot more information about this and other ways to protect yourself from scams and fraud.
Thank you so much, Jane, for all of that wonderful information, and Judy and Pat. Pat, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to close with?
I will say I've been a part of the Maine Council for Elder Abuse Prevention for many, many years. I didn't think to do it, and it caused me some frustration. Unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, I had time to deal with it, but others may find themselves that they don't have that time, that 4 to 6 to 12 weeks that it takes to clear up the matter. So as each of we've said, take the few minutes, put it on there, especially in this climate, and that way hopefully you can avoid any of the frustration that I had to deal with.
Excellent. Jane, any closing thoughts?
I would suggest taking the extra precaution of checking your credit card statements and your bank statements on a regular basis. If you see any suspicious activity at all, please report it. Even if it's a small charge that might seem insignificant, make sure that you report it so that you're working with your bank and your creditors to make sure that you're really staying as safe as you possibly can. It's a difficult time right now. Let's all be vigilant and help one another.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jane. Judy, any closing thoughts?
You know, we always think that it's going to happen to somebody else, but it's never going to happen to me. And it seems like it's such a burden to check all of those accounts all the time, check our credit reports and wade through that information. Yes, it can feel like a lot to go through, but it's so, so important. So please do what's necessary to be safe, remain patient and kind. I know everybody sort of has fraying nerves at this point, but we will get through it together.
Thank you all so much for this great information. We will make sure to post the links to these resources in the description of the video. And once again, thank you for joining us, and help leave scammers out in the cold by freezing your credit. Have a great week, everybody.